is just save that project, and we're going to use the export button, which is at the top of the sidebar. So I select that. Here it warns me that I have 2 load cases that are not used. This is because I deleted the elements, and it asks me if I want to delete them. In this case I do, so I'll click on yes. These are the options for the meshing of the project. We're going to use all of the default settings in there and simply select OK. Next, we're going to view a representation of the project in Animator, which is the button with the butterfly icon. So I'll click on that, and then in a new window, the Animator tool opens. And here you can drag your mouse around the window and use your scroll on your mouse to zoom in and out. So here you can see I have my 2 slabs and my 3 line supports. In the sidebar, in the log tab here, it will give you a report on what's happened when you've meshed your project. In this case, everything seems to have gone fine. There are no errors and no warnings. Okay, so I'll close that down, and the next thing I will do is create an opening in my slab there. So I'll go back to the Structural Elements tab in the sidebar, and I'll select the Opening tool. I'll use the default settings within the dialog box, however you can change those if you want. When you right-click on the drawing, I'm going to use rectangle in this case, just to draw a simple rectangle across my center support. And close that tool down. So then I'm going to export again. You'll see this time in the log tab over here, you'll see an error, and it tells me that structural line 2 is partially not connected with the model and that dispensable parts of the line have been removed. So we'll view that in the Animator, and here you can see that the opening has been created, but the supports along that line have been excluded from the opening, as has been described in the warning message. So next what we'll do is we'll take this line support away, and instead we'll replace it with a beam. So going over to the sidebar in the Sys tab, this time I'm going to create a new cross-section, and I will do that by right-clicking and selecting a new standard section. You have the option to create a variety of different standard cross-sections from here. In this case I'm going to create a T-beam section. So I'll select that in the list and click OK. And here I have all the settings for creating a T-beam section. So in this case I'm just going to increase the width of the web to 300 millimeters. And you'll see when you make modifications it's reflected automatically in the preview of the section here. So I'm going to leave the rest of the default settings and click OK. I get a warning message about the placement of my reinforcement here, but it's going to automatically modify, so I'm going to click OK. And then you can see here that my new section has been added to the list. So now I'm going to modify my center line here by going back to the Structural Element tab, and this time I'm going to select the Modify Structural Line tool. And I select the line I want to modify, accept it with a right click, and then the dialog box reappears. So here I'm going to remove my vertical support and then I'm going to move to the Beam Cable tab, and I'm going to enter eccentric beam. And then the box that pops up here has all of the sections that have been defined. This is the one that I've just defined. There are other options here where you can create new sections, modify them, also create materials, and other options here. So I'll select that one, click OK, and then I will accept that change by clicking OK on the main window. So here you can see the support has disappeared and it's been replaced with this yellow line which represents a structural line. Next I'm going to add a couple of point supports onto that line. So here in the sidebar again I'm going to select the point tool, and in the structural point I'm going to select PZZ in the support conditions to represent a vertical support, and then I'm going to select 2 points. So first I need to click on the drawing, and then I select the endpoint at each end of the line and create my 2 supports there. I'll close that window. So now I'm going to export again. And go to the animator. And here you can see I've got my newly created T-beam. This time it continues straight through the structural opening and it doesn't get excluded. And here you can see my 2 end supports that were just created. So the next tool I'd like to show you is in the structural element tab again. And I'll scroll down a little bit, and I would like to show you the add point on area edge. So when I select an area, you can see the blue squares within the area and on the perimeter of the area. These are the same as the AutoCAD grips and can be used to modify the area. However, with this add point on area edge tool, you can add further grip points onto your area for modification. So I'm going to select that tool, and then I select my area. In this case I'm going to modify area 1, and then it tells me to pick a point on the area's boundary. So for this I'd like to create a point in the center of this line. So I'm from the AutoCAD snap toolbar I'm going to select the center, midpoint, and then I can add a point there. As you can see there's a small blue arrow has just appeared, and I'm just going to add some more points onto that line, as many as you need, and then I'll escape to exit that tool. So then when I select my area you can see I have further blue points, blue grips, and then I can use these just to drag or to use the coordinate geometry there to modify those points. Another very useful tool in the structural element tab is the attribute area tool. With this you can add areas to your slabs that have different attributes, such as a different thickness. So in this case, in the dialog window, I'm going to select thickness here to modify, and I'm going to increase that to 500 millimeters. So I'll right click on my drawing again and I'm going to select a rectangle, and over here I'm just going to define an area and close that tool. So once again I'm going to export, and then view the structure in Animator again. So here you can now see the area that's been modified on the area 1, and then here you can see the area of slab that has its thickness increased. Okay, well that brings us to the end of today's topic. We'll now have a little time for you to ask questions if you like. You can type those into the chat window and I will answer the first 2 or 3 of those now. If there are any, and if there are any further, then I'll reply to those later on by email, and I'll send that out to all of the participants. When the SOFiPLUS finishes, there will be a short survey which we'd appreciate if you could fill in, which is very useful feedback for us. If you have any suggestions or topic requests, please send them to the Academy email address, which is akademie@sophistic.de. Just to inform you again, the SOFiPLUS has been recorded and we will post this on the internet shortly so that you can watch again if you wish. And you will find details of the future English language SOFiPLUS at www.sophistic.com/en/support/training. We thank you very much for joining us today for the SOFiPLUS, and we hope to see you again for the next part. Goodbye and have a good afternoon.